August in 2004. It was a night around 10:30 p.m. We were just like, I remember I was coming from choir practice and my mom was already asleep, my like everybody else in the tent. The only people who were still up or like people who went for church or whatever. And out of nowhere we start hearing like people blowing whistles, like guns, like it was a lot of noises and coming like toward the camp. So we were like, oh, because we were living in the place where it's kind of like close to the ranch. So we were like, oh, maybe they're coming to steal the cows.
Yeah,
they would do it like all the time. They would do that.
Steal cows, but you're thinking you're safe. You're not in Congo anymore.
Yeah.
So why would somebody be coming after you, right?
Yeah, actually.
But that was not the case.
It
They were
was
actually coming. It was
after.
Congolese people.
So we know it was Congolese because whenever they were coming, they were singing in Swahili. They were like calling us Rwandese. They were like, oh, let's go get those Rwandese, let's do this. And then the only people who used to call us all those kind of stuff are the people in Congo. And they were like, it's a they would call them Interahamwe, which means like people who kind of like work together or attack together. And the abbreviation of their name was FNL. I don't remember the meaning of it. But so they came and then they start like shooting everybody. Like they was carrying like everything that can kill a person. They was carrying machetes. They even had like gasoline. And then in my head I was like, what is this for? Like, so they came closer to the refugee camp. And when they got there, we start hearing like people from the other tents screaming, and I was like, and my dad is like, this is not normal. And somehow I heard the person calling my dad's name. He was like, oh, let's go get Pastor Kinyamahanga. And
so this FNL warrior peoples, where they knew your dad's name.
Yeah, they were calling my dad. They were calling other pastors' name. They were the people who knew us, like, because our refugee camp, it was like on one side it was our tribe, and then on the other side there was a tribe of other people called Babembe. It's another tribe in Congo. They also flee with us. I don't know why, but maybe they were not feeling safe. So like we were like, maybe those are because they used to have like an afternoon worship time. So we thought they had their worship time. But as it got closer, it went on our side in our refugee camp. So yeah, and then the people start coming in the dorms, in the rooms, in the tents, and so like right away, people start screaming, and like we could see a lot like fire on the tent, pouring a gasoline on the tent, and right away this guy came. It was actually like few men, so they stopped in our doorway, so like nobody can get outside.
So you're stuck.
So we're stuck inside in a burning tent. Like, you don't have a way to get outside.
Your whole family's in there. Not just your immediate family, your brothers and sisters, your dad, your mom, but also aunts and uncles.
Yes. Wow. So my dad was like, we have to get out of here. Like, we have to find a way. And somehow my mom had kind of reached outside and took a knife, and then she kind of opened the tent so we can find a way to get outside. Right away, there was a guy who was standing like on the top of our bed, and he started shooting. The first thing he did, he shot my mom in the stomach, and my mom was pregnant she was 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
So I was like, these people are not even like, they can't even see that my mom is pregnant. Like, they don't even care about that. I was like, we are about to die. And then right away, my big sister was screaming like, they shoot me. And my brother was like, oh, and my dad was holding my brother. So right away, they shoot my brother on his shoulder. And then my brother fainted, and my dad was like, oh, maybe he's dead.
So your brother like lost consciousness.
Yeah.
So your dad thought he had died.
Yeah. So he left him over there, and my dad ran. And I had to go back inside to find a way to get my mom outside.
So your mom was inside the tent. They're still firing. She's pregnant.
Yeah.
She's a burning tent. And she's been shot in the stomach, you said.
Yeah, she was. And so somehow my mom got outside, and they ran. So I was like, oh, how about the other family members? So I went back inside, and right away I I saw my mom's big sister. I was trying to shake her. I was like, let's go outside, but she couldn't move. And then when I turned her on the other side, they had already shot her on the head. And right away, I kind of know that she's dead. And I was like, well, my aunt is dead. I don't have another choice. So right away, like her daughter was right there screaming. I was like, let's go outside. She was like, no, I have to go see my dad, which was her dad. And then when she got there, they had already took her dad and they shot him both legs, so he couldn't have a way to go. Like he couldn't have a way to run. And they were like, oh, let's take this girl. And so they took my cousin, they sat her down, and she had to watch them burning the dad alive.
Oh my God.
And so the brother came on her way, like he came to save the dad. On his way, right away they shot him, and he was dead in front of her.
So the whole family died?
Yeah. So she was, her and her brother, the only one that survived. But she got also shot. I believe it was like on her leg. So like I was like, I have to find a way to get these people outside. Right away, that's when I lose my mom and my sister and my brother, cause
they were nowhere to be found.
So cause I was more like concerned of the people who were in front of me. So I knew that my mom, since she's ran outside, probably she's gonna be alive or something. And so when I got there, I had to get my cousin outside. And then right when she got outside, she ran. I was like, you have to run for your life. And then so she ran. Whenever she got outside, I was like, because I had my dad's uncle, I call him Grandpa. So I was like, I have to go check on Grandpa because his tent was not burning. I was like, probably they're still alive. So I went to my grandpa's tent, and the first thing I saw when I got to the door, it was my grandpa. He was already dead. They shot him before I got there. And on his side, it was my uncle. I tried to shake him. He was not breathing. He was already dead. And as I went further, there was also my other uncle. He was dead. So I was like, everybody's dead right now. Like, I can't do this. So I was like, where's my auntie? Because my auntie was same age as me. So I was like, I have to go find her. And actually, when I was like, I could hear her voice screaming. Yeah. Because they had already shoot her. I don't know where, because she was just screaming. And then by the time I got there, I couldn't hear her voice anymore. So she was gone.
And you must have been so close to her.
I was. She was one of my best, really my best friend, because we were the same age. We used to play together. And right away, I had to find a way. And by me doing all this, I don't think I was doing it because I was capable of doing it. I feel like it's God who was working through me. Yeah. Because a person who's watching all this happening, you can't just like have the strength of doing it. Like somehow God have to be with you. Right. And in my head, I had like this song came in my head, and it was in it. I don't know. It's in theater. Titus. Titus. Yes. First, chapter 1, verse 5 to 6. And the verses said, I have to find it.
Yeah. So this was this was a song that you would sing.
Yeah, this is a song we used to sing when we were little, but I was mainly on these verses. So it was Titus chapter 1, verse 5 to 6. And then it said, the reason I left you in Crete was that you might put in order what was left unfinished, and appointed elders in every town as I direct you. So I kept on singing. I guess the reason, in my head I was like, the reason why I'm singing this song is because the choir director we had a choir practice before, so that was the last song we were singing. Wow. And I was like, probably that's why I keep having this song in my head. Yeah. And I kept on singing and singing, and right away I kind of lost control, and then I was focusing again on the people who are dying. Yeah. And then I heard this lady screaming, and hearing her voice, I remember her. She was a lady who was living on like the tent next to us, and she was pregnant, and they had to cut her open. They were like, we have to see how a Munyamulenge kid sit in the stomach. And I was watching everything. I was like, why is this happening?
Wow.
So
you saw her literally being killed
by those people. And she had a really small girl like beside her, but she had already dead. Good thing she didn't see anything.
Yeah.
So that was like around 2 in the morning. I had to run and go find my family. And then
you were by yourself then. At this point, you're by yourself.
I was by myself, and I wasn't I didn't know who was with me because my head was just somewhere else. And so I went and then got to my grandpa's house because he was really old, so we had to find a way to put him in a house so he wasn't have to live in the tent. So when I got there, that's where I found my dad, and I was like, oh my God, my dad's still alive. I was like, Pa, how? Because in my language I call my dad Papa. So I was like, Dad, like, Pa, where's everybody? The first thing he did, where's your mom? Because we were all worried about my mom because we know she was pregnant and everything. I was like, my mom, I don't know where she is. Like, I don't know. They left, but I'm sure whatever they are, he was like, are they burned? I'm like, no. I'm sure wherever they are, they're not burned. Either if they're not dead, they're somewhere else. Like, but they're not burned. And so my dad, we sat over there. And my grandpa, he's an old pastor, like back then. And then we start singing. Aww. We start praying.
What did you sing?
Can
you remember?
Yeah. I don't know if I can remember. We were singing a song in our language. I don't remember quite. It was a lot. I mean, people were crying.
Sang anything.
Yeah, anything.
Anything to help you through.
So we were just like praying hard, and we were like, God, please, we don't know how many people are still alive. We need you to do something. Do a miracle. You are a miracle performer. Just do something.
Yes.
And right away, it was like, after that, it was like around 6 or 4 in the morning. Then we had to go back to the camps to see who survived. And when I got there, I can still remember my dad sitting in front of our tent because it was still burning. In his head, he knew that my mom and my sister, they're in there. I was like, Dad, they're not in there. They're somewhere, but they're not in there.
He was so worried.
Yeah, so we had my dad, somehow the news got spread out and people called each other. There was some of our tribe people who were in the city, so they came right away, like around 6 early in the morning, and then they came with a bus that was taking those injured people to the hospital because the hospital was really far away. It was like 5 hours away.
Wow.
So it was far away. So they had to take them to the hospital, and the first person actually they took was my mom. But at that time, I didn't go with her. So my dad went with my mom and my sisters. And so my uncle took my other little sister who did not get shot. So they went over there and they went to the hospital. But I had to go back and go see how my mom is doing. And when I got there, like, I was like the only one who did not get shot, who was still alive. I was like, God, I'm not happy because I did not get shot, but thank you for saving me. Probably in my head, I was like, there's a reason why I'm still alive.
Right. Well, you were the one that went back in and was making sure that everybody was fine. You were able to do that when they couldn't. Wow.
Yeah, so my mom spent, right away, like after, so they took my mom in the hospital, they did a C-section, and they took out my sister. She's really beautiful. Her name is Louange. Louange, which means praise.
Aww.
So it was kind of funny the way they got her name, because whenever my mom gave birth, the doctor was like, we have to name this girl Louange, which was Louange. It's in French, means praise.
Right.
And then my dad on the other side, because they didn't even ask him, like, what do you want to name your kid? Yeah, so he came up, he was like, did you guys already give her a name? They was like, yeah, they gave her Louange. And then he was like, oh my God, I was planning on call her Louange, but in our language, which means Twishime. So she has Louange, Twishime, which means the same thing, but in the same
praise.
Double
praise.
So yeah. So we end up naming her that, and my mom was in the hospital for like a year.
Yeah.
And my big sister was in the hospital for 2 years. Wow. And my brother was in the hospital for 5 years, among other people else.
Yeah. One of the miracles you told me about your sister, she got shot in the arm, and the doctor said they were going to cut it off.
Yes.
And your dad said, oh, no.
He
said God was going to take care of her.
But they got to take out her pinky, which was really destroyed, but it's better than not having
an arm. Yeah. So she has her arm. Can she use it?
Yeah, she uses it. It's sometimes it's really hard for her to lift heavy things, but she can still use it. And
wow. I mean, that's a miracle.
Yeah, and another, something that happened to everybody who got shot. Everybody got shot on the right side. Either if you got shot on your leg, it's on your right leg. If it's arm, it's on your right arm.
How strange.
Yeah, it was really strange. Even my brother who got shot, he was shot on his right shoulder.
Wow.
And so it was just like that.
But every single one of your family survived.
Every single of everybody else survived in my family.
God had a big plan.
He did.
And wow. and so then you lived in a refugee. You actually lived in a refugee camp by yourself while your family was recovering.
Yeah, so I had to go and stay in the refugee camp while my family is in the hospital. Because over there, that's where you get help. There will come people who's going to help you with food, clothes,
right? You had
money.
Nothing. You had nothing.
Yeah. So I had to stay over there so I can find something for my family. Yeah. So the money they gave me, I will save it. So just in case my family get out of the hospital, they were going to find a house.
Yeah.
And which is what exactly happened. So whenever my mom got out of the hospital, we found a house. And it was 7-bedroom house, but we were 5 family in the same house, which was it was a chaos. It was really crowded, but it was better than living in that kind of condition in a refugee camp.
Sure.
But since we didn't have money, we couldn't afford house in the city, so we had to go in another refugee camp, which was really hard for my mom to go in another refugee camp.
Yeah.
And so
she had to be scared.
I remember she couldn't sleep for months.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was like, Mom, we have to go.
Wow.
Plus, we wanted to go to school. It was almost already a year.
Did you miss school?
I did. I missed school. I missed 1 whole year. And of course, my sister missed my big sister. She missed the whole 2 years.
Wow!
And so we had to go in the camp so we can go to school. So the reason why my mom went in the refugee camp is to provide for her kids to go to school. Plus, my mom is a really strong lady. Whenever she got there,
she had to be.
Yeah. My mom really likes to cook. So whenever we got in the refugee camp, she started her own business, cooking. It's African donut. We call it beignet. So she will cook that, and I will go to sell them at the market, so I can get uniforms and anything, or not eating same food every day.
Sure.
So that's how we lived in the refugee camp. So we got in a refugee camp in 2005. We stayed there until 2007, and the immigration in America, they found out about people who survived in Agatumba genocide. So we were we start getting the interview. We start going to interviews and stuff.
Wow! So you found out that you had this your family would have this opportunity to come to the United States. Wow! I mean, a lot of that story is very sobering. And when you hear Fille tell the story, she doesn't say it with a lot of emotion. And in fact, she told us she didn't want to cry.
Yeah, and she had said that she's a very emotional person, that she jumps with crickets, and she's a very emotional person. And her father had also told her that he was surprised that she wasn't crying throughout this time. But as she had said earlier, she just believes that it was God and keeping her strong in the Holy Spirit, giving her that strength.
And giving her His Word. That was significant to her, that she had a song that was directly from His Word in Titus, and that disciplined her mind through such a tragic event. And so even though you might hear her voice sounding like it's just a story, this was really real. She lived through this, and she said after our recording, she said, "I'm so glad I didn't cry." She didn't want to cry through it. She wanted to be strong. And is she amazing and strong and brave? And we both, Nina and I, are so impacted by this story, to see just to be friends with such a brave and amazing young woman.
Yes.
I'm so glad that God allowed our paths to cross. And I think it's important for our students here at SAGU to know who she is.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah, so that's why we really want to do this podcast. So, well, this is part 2. There's more. Now we get to the happy ending, and it is happy. It's big and happy, and you get to see how God is redeeming what was very tragic for her family in this next part. So make sure you hear and stay tuned with us. We are Women in Ministry, and we thrive together.